Good morning. Welcome to our July O.P.P Detachment Board meeting. We have a lot to do on our agenda today. Thanks for everyone for coming early to get that picture taken. Spencer's taken our attendance, and it's great to see all of us here in person. We were kind of saying we should do a picture every meeting, and then that way, I mean, we're all here usually, but the Zoom combination of in person, it's nice to have everybody here. So with the agenda, we do have, Spencer and I were just discussing back and forth how best to handle one item on the agenda that we wanted to add. Spencer was just checking a few things. We'd like to add 11.4 and just have some discussion about how we want to treat our in-camera minutes. We need to make a decision on how we want to circulate those or not. So we'll have a discussion on that. Is there any other items to add to the agenda at this time? We have a pretty fulsome agenda. If not, then we'll have a motion, please, to approve the amended agenda. Mayor Bailey, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Any pecuniary interest to disclose at this time? Seeing none. So today we have a guest with us. As we talked about last meeting, it's part of our board education and awareness and connecting some of the dots with some of the work that Acting Inspector McTaggart does and provides. So we have with us Penny McVicker, who's the Executive Director with Victim Services of Brant, to give us a little bit of a presentation on what she does. But I just wanted to be proactive. We do have the a procedural bylaw about if a delegation is longer than 10 minutes. I'd like to ask the board to consider setting aside that bylaw today to allow Penny the appropriate time to talk. So Spencer, we need a motion to do that.
Through the chair, the board would be able to do a motion that would waive section 11.3 of the board's procedural bylaw to allow the delegation additional time as much as they would need. The motion would be that section 11.3 of the procedural bylaw be set aside to allow the delegation additional time.
Okay, so Member Brown and Councillor Pierce will put that motion forward. All those in favor of that? And that's carried. Thank you. So without further ado, we'll ask Penny to come up to the podium. I believe Spencer's got the slide deck loaded. And welcome, Penny. It's great to have you here.
Oh, it's on. Use it. Okay. Okay. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you, and feel free to ask questions as I go through this presentation. And this is Eddie. He's our trauma support dog that we have in the office, and we make sure, we try to get him with victims as much as we can. He makes a big difference. Just patting a dog can lower blood pressure and make people feel more relaxed and able to talk. So he's wonderful, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to bring him today, but I do get him out to the detachment from time to time. Okay, this is the Victims' Bill of Rights. It's the Canadian Victims' Bill of Rights, and it goes over the rights that victims have, and a big piece of what our program is based on. And the first thing that victims have the right to is the right to information. They have the right to receive information about the justice system and about the services and programs available to them. Victims also have the right to specific information on the progress of the case, including information on the investigation, prosecution, and sentencing of the person who harmed them. They have the right to participation. Victims have the right to present victim impact statements and to have them considered in court. Victims also have the right to express their views about decisions that affect their rights. They have the right to protection. They have the right to have their security and privacy considered at all stages of the criminal justice process, and to have reasonable and necessary protection from intimidation and retaliation. Victims also have the right to ask for testimonial aids at court appearances. And those are things like being able to testify by Zoom or with screens so that they don't actually have to be face-to-face with the offender. And victims have the right to seek restitution. And they have the right to have the court consider making a restitution order and having any unpaid restitution order enforced through a civil court. So those are the basis of what our programs were developed on. So Victim Services of Brant. We deal with victims of crime, and we have a number of different programs that we help with victims of crime. One is our VQRP+, which I'll be talking about in a few minutes. We deal with direct victims, families, and witnesses. We have our bail court program. We also deal with victims of tragic circumstances such as fire, suicide, homelessness, substance abuse, personal crisis, which can be almost anything, and funding for suicide cleanup. We deal with all victims and all genders and all ages. So we aren't selective in the individuals that we support. So with our VCAO program, one of the first things that we do, and that's Victim Crisis Assistance Ontario program. We're now located under the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services. We moved there about 2 years ago from MAG. But what our VCAO program is we do an immediate risk assessment and needs assessment of victims. We do safety planning. We provide referrals to other agencies. We provide on-scene support when requested to do so by police. We provide follow-ups. We do priority housing letters, and we do cleanup in certain serious cases. And then we have our Victim Quick Response Program. And that program was established first in 2007. It was a little bit of a limited program in the amount of immediate financial supports we could put in place. But in the end of September 2019, they closed the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board, which was a board that people could apply to for financial support. They had 2 years to apply, and they used to be able to get funding up to like $25,000, and a lot of it was for pain and suffering. When they closed that program, they transitioned a lot of what the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board did over to the Victim Services Program. We don't give out big $25,000 funds of money anymore, but we provide a lot more immediate financial support for victims to try and help them through that immediate crisis. And I'll go into a lot of those as I go forward. And then when we have our court program, we have somebody that attends bail court every day, whether it be Monday through Friday bail court or the weekend and statutory holiday court. And we also provide victims with information on undertakings when the offender is released directly from police services to make sure that they understand what those are about. So I know that there were some questions in terms of the O.P.P referrals to victim services. I don't know if you can see this chart, but this is just giving you an idea of what we have received. And our stats go from April 2024 to April 1st to March 31st of every year. We're not on the calendar year, we're on that fiscal year. So in the last year, we had 178 referrals from the Brant County O.P.P. And one of the biggest areas that we have received referrals for is obviously domestic violence. We've also had quite a bit of, and when we talk about gender-based violence, we're talking about domestic violence. Usually criminal harassment and stalking is related to gender-based violence. We're talking about human trafficking, and as you can see, we had 2 of those from, I think it's 2 from the county, or no, it might be 1. I can't read the chart, it's small. And sexual assault. Those all fall under intimate partner violence and gender-based violence. The other thing is when you look at our chart, if you look at child abuse, the way our ministry has do our stats is anything that involves someone under the age of 18, we have to report as child abuse. So that means that a lot of sexual assaults, a lot of intimate partner violence are being reported as child abuse in our stats. So just keep that in mind whenever you're looking at our stat sheet. We would like to have these numbers be bigger, but this is what they are. I think I was looking back and I think it was 2019, we only had 88 referrals from the O.P.P. So this is a significant increase, but certainly there's room for improvement. Does anybody have questions on the stats? Yeah.
Through the chair, you asked, or you mentioned child abuse. I don't see that specifically on the stats.
Oh, geez. That would be an error, and I apologize for that. That would be an error from one of my staff that put the chart together. But we would have some child abuse in there as well.
Okay, so but that would be a separate statistic than
Yeah,
domestic
yeah.
violence.
And I can see if I can get you that. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Okay, no problem.
And she may have tried to break it down and put it into the, because we know that people always want to know what the actual stats are, and it's really hard when child abuse is one way that we have to report it, but people want to know a different way. Okay. Okay, when to submit a referral. Consent is always an issue. It's one of the things that I think that both the police and victim services struggle with. We need victims' consent, but there's a thing called implied consent, and the Privacy Commission is looking more and more at victim services, referrals to victim services being implied consent. Simply because when people are in trauma and they've had something horrible happen to them, their immediate response to anything that's asked of them is no. If they don't know what it is, if they have to think about it, they're going to say no, because that's just the way people respond. So that's one of the things that we look at with consent. The other thing is somebody might be saying no to, I don't want victim services here right now this minute, but it isn't that they don't want victim services. And that's the other thing that we have to look at with consent, is making sure that it's not just, the one-time offer. If they say no at the scene, that's okay, because sometimes if they've had a really bad experience, they just want to be home. They just want to be in their, they want to go to bed, or they want to, do something like that. They don't necessarily at that moment in time want to talk to anybody. Now, there are other people that just need us right away because they need to feel safe. They need some of the services that we provide. But oftentimes the no at the initial point is not a no for the next morning or the next couple days when they do want information. So there is, victim consent, yes. If they say yes, obviously refer to victim services. If they say no, maybe have somebody follow up later and do another request. Also, if the offender was arrested, we're going to be monitoring in bail court. We're going to, if they're held, because sometimes they're released at an undertaking. But they want to know what happened in court. They're going to want to have that information and have it in a timely manner, and we monitor court, and we try and call the victims right away. We'll call the O.P.P. detachment to get information so we can make those, make contact with the victim and make sure they know what's happened at court. If there's a warrant, it's important for us to know when they're arrested on the warrant, so we can also follow up with the victim at that point in time, because their safety concerns may change once somebody's been arrested on a warrant. So if they're arrested, it's really important that we get that referral as quickly as possible going forward. Yeah. Do you have a question?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a couple quick ones if I could. First of all, if we could, back at that chart, is it possible that, or are there occurrences where a single individual could potentially be on a couple of these? Like if I look at, domestic violence and sexual violence, is it possible that somebody is under two of these categories, or is it always just one?
It's always just one, because the way that we have to report to the ministry, we can only report on the most significant
Okay.
charge. So oftentimes you'll find that there might be sexual violence and intimate partner violence, but it would always go under intimate partner violence.
Okay, I
So
appreciate
it would
that.
always be always the highest level of occurrence.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And one more, if I could, Madam Chair. So on the page that we're looking at right now, when you speak of referrals, I think you said, so if somebody says no right off the hop, is it you folks that do a follow-up to say, the next day or something, say, hey, are you okay? Or is that they say no, then the next step, if they want assistance, they have to come to you?
If they say no, hopefully the officer or someone from, we don't get if they say no, we don't get the referral, so we don't even know they exist. The officer sometimes might have given them our information, sometimes they call us. I can't guarantee they're always given our information if they say no. Sometimes if in a really serious case, they will call somebody from the detachment will call the victim again and say, hey, I know you said no yesterday, but I just want to make sure that you understand, what you're saying no to, because in our office, the worst thing that can happen, because we do have some eligibility as I get into the VQRP eligibility timelines, and the worst thing that I have happened to me is that somebody calls me and they just found out about us by word of mouth from somebody else, or they don't remember the police offering them, and then they call us and they're outside that eligibility timeline for some of the financial supports. And it's heartbreaking because it's things that they really need, and now we can't offer it to them because our ministry with VQRP, they won't, one of the reasons, we can have exceptional circumstances, but it can't be just that they didn't know about our service.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So yeah, those referrals become very important. And a lot of it has to do with how you offer the services. Stating, just say, do you want victim services? Studies have shown that people have to know about a service, have heard about it 5 or 6 times before they're willing to accept it. And unfortunately, our ministry has not done a very good job of promoting victim services. They've never done public service announcements around it. We aren't funded at a level where we as a local agency can afford to do much in terms of public service announcements. We're just lucky to be, we don't even have enough staff to do what we do, but, so we don't have money for that. Every once in a while, there might be a grant that comes out that we can try and do a little bit. But that's part of the problem is people don't know enough about victim services to know what they're turning down when they say no. One of the things that, we talk about is like if you say, an officer says, hey, there's some resources that I have that I know about that are available to you. Is it okay if I have someone from victim services contact you? That tends to be more likely to get a yes. And oftentimes, with court, when somebody has turned victim services down and then we call them about the court piece, they want everything that we can provide because they didn't realize how much they were going to miss out on if they didn't take our services. So it's all in how you ask. And that's one of the things that we try to work with officers on to improve the ask. So just to go over the bail court program a little bit, what we do, and our bail court program is kind of unique in the fact that the only 2 official bail court programs that are offered across the province just at the bail stage are in Brant County, and Peel. There is the Victim Witness Assistance Program that picks up pretty much after bail court when people go for their first appearance, but we sit there at bail court and we monitor it every day and we make sure that we know what's going on so we can contact victims. So one of the first things that we do is we explain the bail court process to the victims. We give them the opportunity to provide input into the Crown for the bail hearing. We ask them what are some of their safety concerns. Has there been anything significant going on that might have, had some impact on what happened, that incident, especially with intimate partner violence? Like, has there been a loss of a job? Has there been a death in the family? Some of those things can bring on some of the issues that come to a head with an assault. We take that information and we provide it to the Crown. We have an opportunity to write down, we write out the information. We then will usually email it to the person, or if they don't have an email, we'll read it to them. they'll decide if that's the information they want going into the Crown's office. If they want us to take something out or add something, we'll do that, and then we'll send it to the Crown for use during the bail hearing. If they have questions, about what's happened at court or why certain conditions were put in or not put in, we'll help them liaise with the Crown Attorney or with police services if it's an undertaking. We'll advise them of the outcome of the bail hearing because we'll be monitoring it, so we'll know in real time what's happened, and we'll contact them and let them know if the offender's been released on bail or not and what those conditions are. And this is really important in a lot of cases because it seems like at least once a year we have a situation where we're calling a victim right after bail court, and while we're on the phone with them, the offender's at the door, even though there's a no contact order. And this past year, there was one that happened that I have a really strong suspicion that it probably would have been a lethal situation because there were mental health issues and other things involved, and the victim was absolutely terrified. We kept them on the phone while we called 911 and made sure that police got there quickly and rearrested the offender. So that's an important piece as well that we're doing. We also make sure they're connected with what's called the victim support line. So let's say somebody's remanded into custody. If they're registered with the victim support line, if they're released for any reason, if they escape custody, if they're even allowed out on a temporary pass, the victim's automatically notified, and it's an automated notification, but at least they know that they're out and have that information to help keep themselves safe, which can be very important. So we do advise them of the outcome of the bail hearing, and if they're remanded, we'll let them know when the next court date is. If they come back to bail court, we'll monitor that again, but sometimes they may not be back in bail court. They just come back by Zoom and then sometimes go immediately to a guilty plea or something like that because there's a resolution discussion. So that's the other reason it's important that they have the victim support line in case they don't come back into bail court, but yet they do get released. We will contact them with an undertaking if we are aware of it, and make sure that they understand the conditions of release and when the next court date is as well. And we also monitor on the weekends and holidays because crime, unfortunately, doesn't stop for those. We always do a needs assessment with anybody involved in court and a risk assessment, as well as providing referrals for additional support. So the Victim Quick Response Program. And this is immediate financial support for victims of crime, primarily. It's for direct victims, their immediate family, and sometimes witnesses who have experienced a serious crime. So these are the types of crime that are eligible under VQRP funding. As you see, it's some of the most serious. It's child abuse, harassment, criminal harassment, elder abuse, hate crimes, homicide, human trafficking, intimate partner violence, non-consensual distribution of intimate images, any type of serious assault, sexual assault, voyeurism, as well as human trafficking, intimate partner violence, and sexual assault. So there's a lot of things that we can do to help victims of that are eligible for VQRP. One of the first ones is home safety. We provide a lot of web cameras to people. It's important, especially domestic violence, because offenders are often coming by and stalking the houses. And it's getting to the point now because there's so many people have cameras and those things that oftentimes are, they're being told, well, how do you prove that he was here? Well, if we have a web camera, there's information on the web camera that can show that he was standing outside a residence or, gone into the backyard or in some cases damaged cars, that type of thing. So we do web cameras, we'll do safety bars, patio door bars, door alarms, anything that might help with safety. We have done dash cams for cars because of the fact they're often being followed by their abuser, and this is primarily in intimate partner violence cases, but having that information and being able to have it on tape is really important for people. We also will do emergency accommodations where we can put people in hotels if need be, because unfortunately the Nova Vita is almost always full. So it's not that easy to get them into a shelter. And not just is Nova Vita almost always full, but pretty much every shelter across the province is almost always full. So the hotel accommodations are important. We can only do it for a couple days, but at least it gives them some time especially for an offender to get arrested and then to feel safer coming back home. We can provide basic necessities. Sometimes individuals, any one of those types of crimes may have to leave their residence with the clothes on their back. They may not have shoes. They may not have, even, toiletries, those types of things. A change of clothes, those are all basic necessities, and sometimes we've had serious incidents where people have the home is a crime scene for whatever reason, and everybody has to leave and they don't have anything, and they don't have money or anything like that. So we can make sure that they have those basic necessities. And we can also do things like groceries and meals that we can give them gift cards for. They can qualify for that. Counseling is probably one of the biggest ones that we provide. And because most of the publicly funded counseling programs have a wait list, and victims of crime really need support right away. So we have a really good sized list of private counselors within, our community. Some are in the county, some are in the city. We have even some around us, like some in Cambridge and Ayr and places like that, that we have available. And we can provide up to $1,500 in counseling. And that's paid directly to the counselor. We don't give any money, cash, to victims, but we do fund things. They're eligible for traditional Indigenous services as well, and we work also closely with the Indigenous Victim Services, and always make sure if somebody's Indigenous that they're aware that they can work with our program or Indigenous Victim Services, or if need be, we'll work together with the victim, both of our programs. We can pay to replace documents, just simple things like O.P.P cards, driver's license, sometimes passports. We can pay for medical notes from doctors if they need them for work or something else. We can help pay for those. We can do eyewear and dental repair. When people have been assaulted and their glasses have been broken, they don't often have the ability to get those replaced, so we can do that. We can do dental work, which becomes very important with our human trafficking victims because of some of the drug use and things like that. There's been a lot of dental damage. We do transportation to safety if need be. It can be transportation bringing a family member here if, say, somebody's in the hospital for an extended period of time and they need some family support that lives away. We can do moving and storage for somebody, especially with some of our domestic violence victims. We can get their property put into a storage unit, and we can pay for moving costs for them, which becomes a big piece for them if they need to relocate for safety. We can do aids for disabilities. This past year, we've done a couple of those. We had an older lady that was assaulted, and this was in Brantford, not the county, but assaulted, and the offender took her walker and threw it into the Grand River. So she needed a new walker. So those can be important. Graffiti removal, we can do that, or other hate crimes that are dealt with. We can do that as well. We can provide emergency dependent care. Let's say somebody needs somebody to watch their children so they can come in and do a police statement, or they need to go to the shelter and they can't take their pet with them. We can help with pet care. We can provide for an interpreter. We can do crime scene cleanup. And this is probably the only one that falls as well under tragic circumstance. If, say there's a suicide, we can also go in and do crime scene cleanup for that if there's bodily fluids present, which can be important. And if there's a serious assault, anytime there's bodily fluids, we can do crime scene cleanup for those. We can fund up to $500 for funeral expenses, which can be important for people that, they're having an unexpected death. We also have what's called a serious injury fund. It's not a lot of money, it's $1,000, and they do have to have a doctor's note stating that they're going to be incapacitated for up to a year. And then we do homicide survivor support, which is another fund of money that families can apply for to help them in the aftermath of a homicide. And all of these have deadlines for applications. They can be anywhere from 45 days up to 6 months, depending on the type of support that we're providing. And for human trafficking victims, it can be up to a year from the last time they were trafficked. Okay, just looking at what we've done in the county, counseling in the last year, counseling was one of the highest areas where we put out funding, with $11,000 for counseling. We've done some meals and groceries, transportation to safety. We've helped a number of people, relocate or to get to family members outside the community. We can provide cell phones and minutes to individuals, if, especially because in intimate partner violence, one of the first things that goes is a cell phone. We paid for storage and safety, which would be home safety devices. We have provided a number of those. This is our total VQRP budget last year. We put in, throughout Brantford, Brant County, and the Six Nations, we put out $314,979. And as you can see with that chart, counseling is always one of the biggest ones because, as I said, there just is such a long wait list for all the public funded counseling through the communities. And then safety expenses usually come right after that.
Sorry, Penny, just.
Yep.
Did you say the slide for $16,092.51 was Brant County specific? And then the other one was the total for Brantford, Brant?
This is Brant County specific.
Okay, thank you.
And with, you keep in mind, we had 173 referrals from Brant, or I think it was 173 or 178 referrals from Brant County. Our total number of incidents that we dealt with last year was 1,790, with over 2,000 total victims. Human trafficking, we have increased eligibility and funding amounts that we can provide for victims of human trafficking. One of the big things that we can do for human trafficking victims is residential treatment, where we can send somebody who's been a victim of human trafficking to a residential treatment. We can pay up to $20,000 towards residential treatment, which is usually like about a 5-week program. And there's a number of residential treatment programs across the province that we can access and use based on the needs of the victim. We also usually end up having to send somebody for detox with human trafficking prior to going into residential treatment, because that's usually one of the criteria that they have to have had detoxed and be clean before they come for the treatment. So that's important that we get that done as well. We just sent somebody up to Simcoe area for a detox program, because those are, you got to, with human trafficking, if you can't get them in right when they've agreed to go and they have to wait for a program, we'll lose them. And then we have to wait until they come back again. So it's really important that we deal with that right away to get them into the help that they need as fast as possible, because it's all about timing. And one of the other things that we can do for human trafficking victims is tattoo removal. And that's because oftentimes someone who's being trafficked has been branded or tattooed by their trafficker. So we've helped with that. Sometimes it's removal, a couple times it's been just having a new tattoo cover it. We had one lady that got a beautiful sleeve and she absolutely loved it, and she was so, that tattoo prior had been such an issue for her. But her beautiful sleeve she loved. So then she felt good about herself again. So that can be very important. And keep in mind for anything that's gender-based violence, unless it's a child, under child abuse. Or if it's human trafficking, they don't have to file a police report before they come to us. They can call and come to us directly, and that's fine, and we can provide them with all the supports that they need. And even though we have, an office in the Brantford Police and we're at the O.P.P 3 days a week, if somebody isn't comfortable and they want to meet us somewhere else, we've made arrangements where we can meet them at a library, or we can meet them at the Cowan building here in the county, or other places if they don't feel comfortable coming into the police station. But most times, they've been in the police station already, and they're pretty happy to meet with us. And they don't have to come in and identify who they are or why they're there when they come in the building, because we're off the lobby in both places. So they can just come right directly to us. So some of the additional programs that we provide is we have what's called the Abuse Lifeline Emergency Technology or Alert Program. And this is for high-risk domestic violence victims, gender-based violence victims. Occasionally, we've had other individuals that have been on it, even though it's not a gender-based violence issue because of the severity of the incident. And this is available, we provide these to Brant County and to the Six Nations Police. And it's about the size of a pager, but it's a direct automatic, if they press the button, it goes directly into the police dispatch for the police service that they're located in. And it will show their location. And the police services have information on the situation in the background and the severity. These are victims that are at the highest level where there's a concern about lethality. So it's a very important program. I think right now we have 10 clients in the county that are on the alert program. And yeah.
Thanks, Madam Chair, through you. So you answered one of my questions with that it goes, that it's got GPS in it, obviously, they'll know where they are. But hypothetically, if somebody has it and they push it, you said they have the information. So is there some sort of code or something that knows that, hey, it's this particular one that's alerting right now,
Yep.
and then it pulls up that info?
Yep.
That's how that works?
Oh, yeah. Automatically, they're all numbered, and they all are connected with the person's name. Which the police services and dispatch all have. And if it goes up with Brantford Police Service, they get like a geographic picture that shows exactly where they are. O.P.P gets the coordinates because they don't have it come up automatically, but it automatically goes into police dispatch. They're called and notified as well by a response center. The victim, if it's, and we always have, unfortunately, there's always going to be some false alarms. They know that if it's a false alarm, they automatically are told to call police dispatch as well and notify them. But they have what's called a safe word that only the police and us and the victim know. And if it's an accident, they'll give them the safe word. Doesn't mean police still go, because people can be forced to say things and might inadvertently give their safe word instead of just another word. But they don't go lights and sirens if they've been notified that it's a false alarm. If they don't get a phone call, or if the police dispatch, they'll also try and call the victim as well. If they don't get in touch with them, obviously it's lights and sirens. It's treated as a 911 call. We always encourage victims, if they can, even if it's an active alarm, to try and call if they're able to give whatever additional information that they can. Because sometimes just things like, well, he's at the back door, he's, that kind of thing can be important.
Thank you.
Yeah. So these are the,
Through you, Madam Chair, to Penny.
I'm sorry.
So that alarm thing, is it a silent alarm when you push it?
Yep.
Is there also an element to that you can make it scream? Can it be used to scare people at the point of the problem?
To scare people, we would hope that no victim would do that. One of the conditions of the alert program, first of all, it has to be high risk. Secondly, they can't be in contact with the offender for any reason. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't be having any contact with the offender. If we find out they are having contact, we will pull the alarm, because it's not their so that they can go and have contact with the offender and then feel safe so they can press the alarm if something goes wrong. If we find out they're doing things like that, we will remove them from the program. It's really important. And no, they shouldn't, the offender, their family, other family members shouldn't be told about it. It's supposed to be, kept quiet, because even if their kids know and they have access to the father or the offender, and we have men on them, these as well. We've had men on them, don't get me wrong. They might inadvertently let them know that they have this program. So we just don't want them talking about it with anybody. It's supposed to be very private.
Okay. It's just that my house has silent alarms through it.
Yep.
But once I find somebody's already in my house, which has happened, silent alarms aren't what I need. I need a big loud noise to get them back out the door. They came in real quick. So I didn't know whether there was that element put into this.
No, there's no noise, because sometimes, especially with gender-based violence, that could put them at greater risk. Because this way they might be able to manage things a little bit until the police get there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. So the important components of this program is, one, we do an extensive personal safety plan with all of these clients, and we do ongoing safety planning. So as long as they're on the program, we're doing regular check-ins with them, at least every 2 weeks, and talking to them about anything. Because sometimes they're afraid to call them, I'm not sure if this is something I need to tell the police about. When we call and talk to them, like, what's been going on, how are things going? And then they'll tell us something that's happened, and we're like, no, that's really important, you need to report that to the police. Because they've been so conditioned with some of the prior assaults to get to the level that they're at, the alert program, that minor things that other people would find really disturbing and scary is so normal to them that they don't report it. And that's part of what we do, is making sure that they get that ongoing safety plan. We're reminding them of that on a regular basis, and we're also encouraging them to make reports. We provide them the safety device and then the ongoing support at all times to support them while they're on the program. And we find not only does it help the client, but it helps their kids, because they feel safer, because mom is feeling safer. And then they do better in school, and their behavior is better at home, because everybody's a little bit less anxious, and that helps a lot. And then the other thing that we have is the domestic violence rent bank, and that we got we've had funding from the Canadian Women's Foundation for that program, and we can provide victims of intimate partner violence with an interest-free loan of up to $1,500, and they pay it back at a very nominal rate. And sometimes that can help them with first and last. It used to always just cover first and last month's rent. Now it kind of helps a little bit. First and last month's rent, or, deposits for like heat and hydro, or there have been occasional times that we've had, to help them buy a bed or something like that they needed, that because they didn't get all the property out of the house. Those types of things. It gets, once again, paid directly to service providers, we don't just give them cash. But it can make a difference between somebody getting out and not getting out of a bad situation. Oftentimes we have a lot of people that, especially women, that work and they just don't have the money to put aside to save to try and get out of a domestic violence situation, and they need a little bit of financial support. The applications are processed through the Brant housing for anyone coming in. And the reason that we do that is because sometimes people think they aren't eligible for some of the funding that might come through Brant housing subsidies and things like that, which they don't have to repay. So if they go and they do the application through them, they evaluate them for all other programs they might also be eligible for, in addition to the $1,500 that we can provide. So that becomes important as well. So we're trying to make sure they're getting all the benefits that might be out there for them. And that's all that I have, if anybody has any questions.
Mayor Bailey?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Penny, the $500 that you offer for funeral expenses.
$5,000.
Or $5,000?
Yep.
Can that be added to anything else? Like if you go to the city, or you go to social services, or come to us, there's a certain amount of money that we give you to bury someone. Your money has to be money on its own, to stay
It
on
has
its
to be
own?
money on its own. They have to not be eligible for some of the county or the city funding.
And you have a choice, they can use that money for anything, either a full burial or a cremation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's paid directly to the funeral home. How they utilize that money is up to the family.
Thank you.
Yep.
Penny, can you, maybe you talked about this, and I apologize if I missed it, but the funding that you do get, is it from the province only? Is it multiple sources of funding? Like, are you, I know you said that you wish you had more funding, so it must be a struggle for you to try and get what you need, but all these great services that you provide, where is it all coming from?
Okay, well, we get funding from the ministry. I think in our last audit, I think 62% of our funding is from the ministry. We get some funding from the county, we get some funding from the city, and I write a lot of grants. Now, the VQRP funding is paid for by the province. We pay it directly out, then we have to apply to get reimbursed for it. And that can be a struggle sometimes because, and this wasn't the county, but between April and May, we had 3 homicides. That actually we paid out more money than we got for that month from the ministry. Luckily, we have over the years, because we were one of the first programs, we've built up some reserves, but there are other victim service sites across the province that don't have reserves, and they have been in a position where they've had to make a choice between, do I pay my staff or do I fund the supports for victims? It's really hard when you have to pay it in front, out first and then get it back, and when you're looking at the amount that we paid out in the last year, it exceeds what the ministry gives us in a year. So, yeah, funding is always an issue.
Sounds like it,
Yeah.
Other questions for Penny? So in terms of some of the discussions we've had at the board table with some of the reports that we received through the detachment commander and referrals to victim services, and I think Member Stryker, you were asking, correct me if I'm wrong, about uptake and all that. Are we connecting the dots here with what services Penny's providing with what the detachment commander reports indicating? Like, do we have a better understanding now of what's available, how it's accepted or not accepted, or all the circumstances that go around it? I think that was some of the initial conversations. Are we feeling that those answers, feeling a little bit better about the information we've been provided? Yeah? Okay, great. It was a very good overview. I think we've all learned a little bit. Each of us have taken different parts of that away, and it's reassuring to know that you provide the services that you do for those people that are in need at those crisis times. And if there's anything that we can do to help advocate for you and for the services that you provide, please let us know. If it's a letter of support or if it's something we can do, please let us know. It's really important for us to make sure those people have the help that they need.
That is. It's very important. Thank you.
And thanks for the work that you do.
Thank you for your time.
Mayor Bailey?
Just through you, Madam Chair, a motion to receive as information.
Thank you. Seconder for that, please. Member Stryker. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. So item 5 on our agenda is the minutes from our previous meeting from June 24th. Looking for any errors or omissions. If none, then we'll have a motion then to approve those minutes, please. Sorry, Member Boudreau just froze there for a minute. Motion, and Councillor Pierce has seconded that. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried as well. Any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, just wondering if Acting Inspector McTaggart can give us a little update on the status of the VIN reader.
On the status of what, sorry?
The VIN reader.
Oh,
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Pierce. So VIN reader has been picked up.
Nice.
And our member of our community street crime unit met with a member downtown, picked up actually at Quincy Mills, and has obtained the device. I can tell you the enthusiasm and the appreciation from our members that are going to be using the device is very much appreciated. And the board is thanked on behalf of Detachment for supporting that device and the application that will serve moving forward.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
That's great to hear that that's all been finished and resolved, and it's in your possession and ready for active deployment. Any other business arising from the minutes? Okay, let's move into section 7 then. We'll go to the detachment commander's report, please, and I'll turn that over to Acting Inspector McTaggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start the report off with our motor vehicle collisions. For the month of June, we had no fatal injury collisions, 5 personal injury, and 62 property damage for a total of 67. Moving ahead to criminal code and provincial statute charges. Criminal code non-traffic, we have 36 for the month of June. 10 criminal code traffic, 308 Highway Traffic Act charges, and 25 under the other violations tab. Moving along to violent crime. For the month of June, we had 1 sexual assault, 6 occurrences involving assaults, 6 occurrences involving violence and or threat of violence for a total of 13. Property crime, for the month of June, brick and enter, we had 6, theft over 5,000, we had 13, theft under 5,000, 15, possession of stolen goods, we had 1, fraud 15, and mischief 4 for a total of 54. Now I can provide an update from our last meeting regarding property crime, because that was brought up as to the upward trend we're seeing here locally at Detachment. I had reached out to our regional analyst prior to last meeting to address the property crime and some of the numbers we were seeing. And she recently provided me a fulsome report that I have taken to our street crimes unit to provide some direction and some focus for our attention. But since then, John Buchert, our media officer, has put out a media release using Lisa Hendrick from the county as well to support that platform on the rise of brick enters and urging the county to become, or the county members to become vigilant in their efforts to curb some of the trends we're seeing. He also put together a fulsome video that was aired on June 26th through our social media platform as well, providing some advice and supporting the safeguard program that we offer to residents to help them protect their properties. So the report from our analyst did identify some areas that I will share with the board in regards to trends. The theft over 5,000 is strictly motor vehicles. So where you see that in the report, that is strictly vehicle thefts. Whether the vehicles are worth $5,000 or not, they're all captured in that one category, okay? The theft under 5,000 are typically thefts from motor vehicles or from those numbers that are traditionally lower in value. So when you see the theft under, for this point, I'm gonna say that it's traditionally the theft from a motor vehicle, unlocked vehicle or whatnot, because we traditionally do see a lot of unlocked vehicles in the county. And again, the messaging is always going out to remember to lock your vehicle. And I can't say that enough, so. And then also as well, she provided some data in regards to where we are seeing these vehicles. So the majority of the vehicles that are being stolen in the county are pickup trucks. A large number of trucks are being stolen, as well as those model years 2017 and older. And the majority of them are falling between the 2003 and 2007 group. Why that is exactly, I don't know. They are, in my mind, looking at the vintage vehicles at that age, 20 years or more, but that seems to be the trend we're seeing here in that category for vehicles. And most of the vehicles are being stolen by tampering the ignition, and our recovery rate's about 35%. When it comes to the theft under, again, we're seeing a lot of these during the weekdays between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And we also do have a mapping area that we are going to focus our attention on, as well as break-in enters as well. We've identified an area where that is trending on our break-in enters that we will be focusing on. And we are seeing a lot of abandoned buildings that are being targeted for these break-in enters. They are looking for scrap metal, wire, and tools. So of those occurrences, we have 5 separate incidents, actually more than that, 10 incidents where we have arrested and charged individuals with various theft offenses. So we are taking action on these individuals. It's just taking some time to catch up to them and do our part through the criminal justice system, push them through. So we do have some good news story on these. And again, it's one of those categories that we are constantly chasing individuals on, and it takes some time before we catch up with them, but ultimately, we do have some good news stories there. Okay? Okay, so moving ahead to drug crime. We had 1 possession of drugs in June, and then year-to-date 5 total, which encompasses several categories there. The other crime occurrences, I know that was also a topic conversation in our last meeting, and I did follow up to obtain some categories of what the other crime occurrences is entailing. So the other crime occurrence relating to criminal code offenses, gaming and betting falls under that category. And under the federal statute portion there, because it does speak to federal statutes, we're talking about the various federal acts, Bankruptcy Act, Canada Shipping Act, Canada Health Act, Customs Act. Those acts are all falling under the provincial side, as well as the provincial statutes. Same idea. Those statutes that we traditionally don't see a lot of, but are encompasses into that one category. And then the driving offenses traditionally are your impaired driving, right? So, and in criminal code driving offenses there. So hopefully that lines a little bit on the other crime occurrences when it comes to some of those areas that we question as to what that means. And like I said, I can answer later on that if anybody has any further follow-up there. Moving ahead to our public complaints, we did have 1 in June for a total of 5 year-to-date, and I know that was also a topic of conversation, is what that public complaints is covering. From the information I can find, it's generated from our professional standards unit, that when they get traditionally a complaint through LECA, they're generating a call for service and then following up with attachment. So hopefully that identifies a little bit from the board. Patrol hours, we had 1,157 hours for cruiser patrol. We had 1.25 hours of motorcycle patrol and 9 hours of ATV patrol, 76 hours of foot patrol, and 4 hours of school patrol for the month of June. We had no youth charges for June, which again is great to see. Mental Health Act occurrences, we had a total of 34 for the month of June and 1 unfounded. And those mental health occurrences ranges from assaults, threat of suicide, frauds, intimate partner violence, Mental Health Act, well-being checks, threats, and trespass to property. We did have 1 overdose occurrence, but it was non-fatal, an opioid overdose for the month of June, for a total of 4 year-to-date. And then we move to the victim service referrals for June. We had 71 offered, and of those 71, 19 accepted. And as you can see below here, we're looking into the categories as well as the ages that we're seeing the acceptance in, from age 17 all the way up to over 65. And then in our last meeting, the board asked me to provide some sort of form to address some of the good news things that we're seeing at Detachment that traditionally was included in our last report, but isn't. So I took upon myself to develop something that just kind of speaks to some of those areas that traditionally we have reported on. Please let me know your thoughts and whether there's an opportunity to revamp, change, delete any of these. Please let me know, and I'll move forward with that. So I felt the Community Mobilization Officer, PC Murphy's duties were of importance for the board. As you can tell, we had 34 mental health related occurrences, 13 were no new coast referrals. We had, of the 34, 13 apprehensions, and 10 were admitted and 3 were released. And I know the time in the emergency room is always an issue here with everyone, including myself. So the total time spent in the emergency room with apprehensions was 1 day, 12 hours and 40 minutes times 2. And the mean was 2 hours and 49 minutes. And then the total time in the emergency room ranged from 20 minutes to 8 hours and 45 minutes. So I can tell you with the board here, and I did explain before that the MOU has been signed between the police services, 3 police services servicing Brantford General as well as the Brantford General itself. We have all the police services that identified at least 2 members to participate in the development of a training program to address the new MOU. We are just waiting for Brantford General to identify some individuals from their ministry as well to assist us in moving this forward. So with these numbers continually presenting themselves, I feel it's prudent on myself to push this forward, which I continue to do. The Youth Resource Officer, month of June, PC Vitalis, he attended Cobblestone Elementary School. He developed the O.P.P kids program to 3 classes. He also attended with a cadet to 9 elementary schools in the county for the final O.P.P kids visits. And he handled certificates and displayed a police motorcycle and cruiser for the students, which was very well received. I was going to bring our YIPPY student today, and I know that's probably a new acronym for all of you here. It stands for Youth in Policing Initiative. We have hired Braden Bezick, who is a local student here in Brant County. He lives in the city. And the YIPPY program is for high school students designed for youth leadership, mentorship, and confidence building, and as well to enhance the relationships between youth and police. So Braden will be with us for the summer, and the reason he's not here today is because he had a pre-arranged appointment to get his G-Class license. So I felt it was prudent that he take that initiative to get his G-Class, and there might be an opportunity to potentially see him another time. I'm not sure that's possible, but again, that's the reason he's not here today. Moving forward to our traffic management unit. To date, there's been 81,447 Part 1 charges, 360 Part 3, and 29 criminal charges. So that's from the inception of July until May of this year. For the month of June, 128 Part 1 charges were laid for a total of 1,573 for this year. We had several special events and meetings. Special Olympics champs Ottawa, PC Bucher attended in June. The St. George Bike Rodeo was in June. There was a bike rodeo at the Sillaps, and was the St. George Car Show as well. And regarding staffing, PC Lauren Fitzpatrick and PC Daryl Giles, which were previous members of Brant Detachment, both transferred to Norfolk. And in return, we welcomed PC Nick Helmuth, who joined us from Norfolk. He replaces PC Fitzpatrick. PC Tony Opong, and I don't do well with his last name that well, but I call him Tony Opong, and he's good with it. He joined us from Wellington County. He replaces PC Giles. And also, just to recognize Inspector Quenville, her promotion to superintendent. She left detachment commander and assumed her new role at West Region Headquarters. So that is my report, pending any questions.
Thanks for doing that extra bit. I think that really helps get the ball rolling on the contextual information we wanted to make sure was included with the report, because it is a public document. And I'm happy to hear that the MOU is signed, and hopefully the training program initiation doesn't take too long to get folks formed and ready to go, because that's the next key thing to getting those numbers manageable. It's good to hear. I'm sure there's some discussion and questions on the report. Anybody would like to start the ball rolling? Mayor Bailey?
Just a question through you, Madam Chair. During the night, what do you guys do at night? You patrol everywhere in the county, just up and down all over the place? Do you have a grid that you do? Do you have a time frame that you're in a certain part of the county, Burford, St. George, Paris?
Through the chair, Mayor Bailey, traditionally, our members are divided up into zones. So St. George is a zone. And typically, we have our members, and I spoke to the service delivery model, they have certain obligations they have to commit through on their day-to-day shifts, and one of that is foot patrol. So, and vehicle patrol. So I highly encourage our members to be productive and to use their time efficiently and accordingly. And foot patrol and vehicle patrol are expectations of our office.
The reason I'm asking, sir, is because since we've had nice weather lately, everyone's opening their windows. So when you open your windows, you hear everything. And we have a monkey that decides to burn rubber every night at 1:45 in St. George. And it's quite aggressive. It's down the main street. Then I think they head toward 24, but they don't go very far. Maybe turn around at the at Elliott Field there and come back, do it again, and then they take off toward Governor's Road, and then they disappear. But it seems like he must be I'm saying he could be a very progressive young lady that's up at 1:45 and waking up everybody. And it just seems, we always heard something, but the windows are closed with the air conditioning and stuff. So it wasn't offensive. I mean, it was offensive. It woke you up, but it didn't pop you right out of the bed. Well, last night, the night before, it popped you out of the bed and got the dogs barking. It was worse than firecrackers, because we weren't expecting it. So I'm just thinking that maybe someday soon, if it's going to be a regular thing for this guy, that maybe somebody could be sitting near the car wash at 1:45 in St. George on some night, just to see if it's consistent. You just want to wring his neck. You don't really want to hurt him, but you certainly want to let him know that 1:45 is not a great time to be waking people up. So it's happening, and I just thought you might want to know that.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. I would encourage that if it is yourself that's hearing this, to call it in, please. I know that we may be, but again, if this is an ongoing thing and we're not aware of it, that allows us to become more proactive. So I wrote this down, and I'll take this back to the detachment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Member Brown and then Councillor Pierce.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the Acting Inspector, really appreciate the supplemental report. You've actually headed off a couple of questions that I was going to ask. A couple of comments. The patrol hours, I had one positive comment about the officers walking around different areas, so I think it's really important that you're doing that and getting out and engaging, not just being in the car, and also with the ATVs. That's nice to see that you're following up on those. I'm really pleased to hear about the MOU having 2 people, basically the equivalent of full-time weeks in the hospital is unacceptable, and I'm hoping that they do come up with a better system. I mean, 75 hours is those resources can be put to better use. So I'm happy to hear on that as well. Thank you.
Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, first I'll start with a comment, if I could. The Yippee, we met the Yippee at the Special Olympics. He's a good guy. He seems pretty eager, so that's good, and that he sounded quite positive about the program, and it was P.C. Murphy was there as well, and it sounds like a really good thing. And it's nice that to have an opportunity like that. I'm going to say at that age, but at that age as a youngster to either, solidify the direction they want to go into policing services, or kind of, maybe that's not for us. And it was the one thing I found quite interesting, and it makes sense. P.C. Murphy was saying that, if in fact that they were to get a call or something like that, they may have to drop them off somewhere for their own safety. And it's things like that that, you know, I say we as a common we, that I kind of thought, well, I never even would have thought of that, but that makes sense to not potentially put them in harm's way of anything that may or may not be happening. So I thought that was quite interesting too. And Brain said, yeah, I got my phone, so I'm all good, right? I know who to call. So I thought that was good, and it was nice that he was there, and nice to meet him. So that was good. And if I could kind of go off of Member Brown there too, yeah, I'm quite happy with the additional information, but it also takes a few questions away from me. So sometimes that doesn't make me happy, but that's okay. If we go to page when it speaks of the youth charges. I'm just curious there because for 2025, the numbers are all 0, but you got a total of 1.
Through the chair, Councilor Pierce, yeah, I did catch that as well. And the BI cube is what draws this. So there might be a flaw in that program for this number. So I am looking into that as well.
Okay. Maybe it was just seeing if I could find it, that's all. Okay, and I had, yeah, like I said, I've got very, very few questions today. With regards to, and Member Brown alluded to it as well with the time at the hospital and stuff like that. And I know I've mentioned it before on the paramedic side, the province has assisted with some funding for an offload nurse. And I don't know if within this MOU, if it goes beyond the police services and the Brantford General to potentially the province to, in essence, put something into this as well, the importance of it, twofold. It's, you know, for the victim themselves to get help quicker, and as Member Brown alluded to get our services back out on the road to do, I don't want to say that what they're doing there is not important, but to know that they can get out an hour earlier or whatever like that and get back on the road. I don't know if the province is part of that MOU or if they've been involved with it at all. I'm not sure. And the other thing too, it's kind of an interesting stat when you were talking about the vehicles, that it's the, you know, the older vehicles that are being stolen. I'm just wondering if it's possible that, you know, these new vehicles nowadays, there's so much electronics in them that you can't, you know, bypass this or bypass that. I'm wondering if that's a factor as well, that maybe on the older ones, there's not as many electronics in there to adhere them from taking them. I don't know. That's just a comment on that. But no, other than that, thank you for the report, and yeah, and the additional there is great. I like that. So thank you.
Mayor Bailey?
Through you, Madam Chair. Just as the mayor, I want to just say that what you people did for the Olympics, Special Olympics, was very impressive and served the county very well. The way that you worked with the city of Brantford and Six Nations, I was very proud to be part of the county when I saw you guys doing your thing with those kids or the participants and the people that were in the Special Olympics. So thank you for what you did, and thank the inspector when you see her, the ex-inspector. She's an amazing lady, and she certainly demands a lot of thanks for what she did that night. So thank her on behalf of the county. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Bailey.
I just wanted to touch on, Councillor Pierce talked about meeting Braden, which we got to, I think the 4 of us met him on the Friday when we were at the Green Lane softball tournament. But PC Murphy also talked about the Youth Academy netting some good results. And I just thought that was worth maybe talking about in terms of overall strategy, in that there's some folks that were participants of, correct me if I'm wrong, were participants in the Youth Academy that are now applying, whether that's auxiliary or regular force, into the O.P.P stream. And through their connections and their work through the Youth Academy, they're able to have some insight into the recruiting process and use PC Murphy's experience and references and support as being able to do that. So I think that's great that we're getting some traction out of that Youth Academy. So I just want to say thanks to all the team members that were involved in putting that together. I know that's from the first class, I believe, that's come out of. So I think we'll continue to see some of that benefit coming from that. So that's great news. I'm not sure if everybody was aware of that. I know the 4 of us heard that directly, but I wanted to share that with the others. That was great news to have Other than that, is there any other questions or comments? Member Stryker?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I really appreciate your attachment as well to the report. And it actually, I'm just wondering, PC Murphy attended the PROS program announcement. I missed that announcement. Do you have any insight as to what that is?
Through the chair, Member Straker, I do not have a lot of details on the PROS program. Michelle is very much in depth in that. But yeah, I can follow up with you on the next meeting if you're okay with that.
What, just to follow up on that, was that the announcement with the Ministry of Education that requires that if there is not a school resource officer program, that there must be one moving forward?
Madam Chair, I believe it's something along that lines, but I don't want to quote
Yeah.
and misquote that on there, but I will definitely follow up on our next meeting with the specific on the pros so that everybody is.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if that came out in May or June, but that was good news to hear that all the, all the work that we've been trying to advocate for, that obviously the Ministry of Education is seeing that as important to make sure that there's officers back in the school for those programs. But you can follow up with us, that would be great. Anything else? If not, then we'll have a motion to receive the report for information. Member Boudreau and Member Stryker. All those in favor? Just want to note before we move on, many of you already know Superintendent Nash, but just obviously want to acknowledge that Superintendent Nash is with us today as well. We have him on the agenda later on, but welcome back to Brant. It's nice to have you back with us, but I don't know if you want to say anything now, Superintendent Nash, or wait till we're later, introductory-wise.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just hello and glad to be back. Just for those who are not aware, I'm a superintendent of our West Region headquarters. As a result of Lori Dunan's promotion and move to Aurelia, I assumed sort of oversight and support for this area, moving from sort of the north part of the region, now overseeing Brant, Oxford, Norfolk, and Haldimand County detachments, as well as our what we call our operational support profile for the region, which includes emergency response team, community safety, canine auxiliary program. So that's my responsibility, reporting to a chief superintendent at region. So I'm glad to be back. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's move on then to staff reports, section 8, and we'll ask Cindy to start with 8.1, the false alarm statistics.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. The report to the board this month provides stats to the end of June of this year. You can see overall that there is a slight decrease in response to false alarms in comparison to the same time frame last year. So a very small decrease of 1.7%, but is trending in the right direction. And I think that's it. It's pretty straightforward this month, so.
Any questions on the report? Member Stryker?
Yeah, I just have a question. If we know the number of properties in the county that are monitored by an alarm company, just, is that increasing? Is it staying the same? Do we, just to put perspective on if there's more properties being monitored?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't believe we have that data available. I think overall, as the county is growing, I would hazard a guess that there are more that have alarm systems in place, but there's no sort of repository that we keep that would indicate for sure how many.
Okay, so just to keep that in mind, like, this could be a battle, like we're trying to decrease it, but as it could be decreasing percentage-wise, but not occurrence-wise.
Good reference. Okay, if there's no additional comments or questions on the report, then we'll have a motion to receive for information. Member Brown, seconded by Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? And that's carried. We'll move to 8.2, which is a report on the budget variances year-to-date.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. The report to the board provides year-to-date actuals on the board's budget from January to June. Currently, the budget is trending under. The board has spent 35.54% overall funds. And in the report, I did list specifically, as there have been questions in the past, what is budgeted under public relations and awards, just for the board's reference. So some of those funds have been spent this year, particularly under the Youth Academy, community sponsorships. The Emergency Services Golf Tournament is coming up, and I know the board's committed to that, so that funding will be spent as well. The newsletter, there was savings because the spring edition was sent out only online. So that did have some significant savings through postage and printing costs. And the sponsorship for the Special Olympics was spent this year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So quick question, I guess, as Acting Inspector McTaggart and I were talking about kind of what's on our to-do list coming up. The fall dispatch newsletter was one of those things we talked about. Are we wanting to test the waters back with Canada Post again? We didn't mail it out last time. We provided hard copies at all the different community centers, detachment, that type of thing. But do we want, I'm just looking for some direction because that helps us in our planning and that we can see what the impact is on our budget as well. Councillor Pierce?
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess a lot of that would depend on what comes out in the next few days from Canada Post, right?
This is true.
Personally, I am a fan of have them available at certain spots, electronic, but that's just me. I mean, not everybody appreciates what's in it, and I'm sure there's a lot of it that comes in one door, out the other door to recycling, which is, you know, typical with a lot of mail, but I think the better way to hit people is have them available at your, like, you know, libraries, arenas, that sort of thing, county offices, and then just electronically.
And it's on our website and it's shared socially. Member Brown, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to ask if we could look at the possibility of doing electronic distribution. I think it was important that we sent it out initially, but the public's now aware of what it is. And if there are some people who can't get out, maybe there can be a way that we could mail one specifically to them if they have a request for it. But with hard copies at all of our public buildings, it's going to have a substantial savings on reduced printing and distribution. So I think it's something that we should have a hard look at.
Well, Cindy's noted in her report that we saved approximately $88,100 just by not having postage costs, so, and printing. Member Boudreau?
Yeah, it's likewise obviously in favor of the electronic, but what I would be interested in is getting an understanding of consumption, which if it's on our website as a for instance, or if people sign up through an email, love to get the data fed back to the board to understand who's actually signing up for it, who's actually reading it. And likewise, even for the hard copies, if we could get sort of a count at the end of a quarter or something of copies that are left in the various locations we're dropping it off on, we'll get a sense of how many people are physically picking it up when they attend the library, one of our service centers, et cetera. Thank you.
I don't know that we, maybe you're going to speak to this, but I don't know that we physically have an email address list that we email that out to, do we? Like, maybe I misunderstood you, Member Boudreau, but I don't know that we have a email distribution list that the newsletter would get emailed out to.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. With respect to email distribution, you can sign up on the county's website for notices or updates. So I believe if you're signed up for new items, you might get a notice that says the newsletter is available, for example. But I can confirm that. I did check in with our communications department, and this was last week, but as of last week, they had 310 views of the newsletter online. I do not have data today around, how many hard copies may have been picked up. I can follow up on that piece.
I do like the idea of saving funds and then being able to look at ways we can encourage uptake. But then part of, I think, the strategy is also the transparent and open communications, and we can't control consumption, but we can control that we've done it and that we've distributed it and we've provided it for people's consumption, so it's great to be able to track it, but I would be concerned that it would be the only measure of success. It's part of the overall kind of discussion, I think, because it's our job to put it out there as well, right? Councillor Pierce?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair, and just through you to Cindy, if I could, 300 and some odd hits, that's great. But can we also check with them, because they can see how many unique hits are on that as well? Like, is it
How many what, sorry?
unique
Oh,
hits?
unique, yeah.
Because that, if it's somebody's looking at, 50 times, or we had 300 and some odd people, right? Because that's important as well. And one other question I do have with that, I'm just trying to think, I think some of the stuff on the county site is shareable, but can we make sure that it's potentially shareable on there as well?
So I'm going to take the direction that our discussion is that we would proceed with the fall dispatch newsletter with the same distribution methods as what we had for the spring distribution, and we can always revisit after that. And then, Canada Post is going to do whatever Canada Post is going to do in the next couple of days, so that might be making a decision for us. But yeah, I think from the gist of it, I wanted to just make sure that we had that in the discussion, so that as part of the budget review. Is there anything else for questions for Cindy on the report? Councillor Pierce?
Madam Chair, do you want a motion to go that way, or is it just
I think we're
direction, or we're good?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Any other questions then on the budget report that Cindy provided? If not, then we'll have a motion to receive that report for information as well, please. Member Brown, Mayor Bailey, all those in favor? It's carried. Okay, item 9.1 in your package is a report from municipal policing regarding first quarter, January to March revenue credits that have been sent back from shared services. So the county will have received a credit memo of $17,311.18 for the breakdown of police checks and various services under that. Just to note that, I'm sure you read that, in 2028, that revenue credit back stops. So we have between now and then on a reduced, and they've reduced that by 25% this year, and then by 2028, that will stop altogether, now that that's done centrally and out of the detachment. So that's just there for information. We don't need anything on that, I believe. Flip my page. So that's just a communication item. So then item number 10, we have some updates. Councillor Pierce isn't here at the moment, so I'll just skip to Zone 4. There's nothing new to report since our June meeting. Just a reminder that there is an in-person Zone 4 meeting in Woodstock on September 10th. I haven't seen a draft agenda of that yet, but it's always good to be able to connect with people in person. And then there'll be an online meeting in November of Zone 4. The September meeting is joint shared with O.P.P, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, Zone 4 as well. And then I'll move to 10.3 with the chair update. Just want to echo Mayor Bailey's thanks about the Special Olympics. Between the opening ceremonies and the opportunity for 4 of us from the board to volunteer at the softball tournament, to then also being able to be part of Saturday's medal ceremonies with Superintendent Nash and Acting Inspector McTaggart. And it was just great to see all the interaction that your team had with not just the athletes, but the organizers and all the different volunteers. I know you put a lot of work in behind the scenes. Acting Inspector McTaggart and I were talking about it's like a wedding. Nobody knows all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. The guests are all happy. Everybody's had a great time, which I think is what, I'm sure there was a lot of things behind the scenes logistically that you had to make sure were with the heat and with the pivoting that you had to do and with the facilities. But kudos to you and to Six Nations and to City of Brantford for the police services for doing all that you've done for the last year to get that organized and successful implementation. It was great to be able to see the athletes just really be able to enjoy the games and the program that was designed for them. And I was able to be part of some of the greeting of the athletes off the buses when they came to the softball tournament. And they were just so excited to be there and to compete and to try to earn a medal. And then Saturday, when Superintendent Nash and I were able to be part of the medal ceremonies, just being able to greet them through the line, and they were just so excited, even despite the sweltering conditions. So it was such a great thing for the county to be able to host. And so just thanks to all of you and your team. I know that you were all out there on your own time, and then the folks that were there. It was just fantastic. And yes, we've talked about the Youth Academy, and we've talked about YIPPY. What an acronym. That's a good acronym for Braden. Some of us did meet him. It was great to be able to have a chance to meet him as well. Just also want to note that there is the copy of the newest Community Safety Wellbeing Plan that was in your package today. So now we all have a copy of that. The team, Brian and Leslie and the team has reached out, Melissa has reached out to Acting Inspector McTaggart and I to just have a quick chat about, okay, moving forward, what does that communication look like with the detachment board, and updating us on the progress of the work that's being done on the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. One of the things, the outcomes of the discussion was, how do we have that two-way dialogue between the detachment board and the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan and those that are working on it, and then all the agencies that are working on that to then inform the plan, so that it doesn't just become something that in 4 years' time we all talk about again, that it's actually a living document and that we understand some of the things that we're trying to improve upon or track or look at the metrics. So that's the starting of that conversation. Then we'll have them come into our meetings on a somewhat regular basis to kind of provide updates for us on that. That's all I have for now, other than it's been busy trying to get our annual report together, which we'll be talking about shortly, and just some other, the usual things between meetings. But I'm going to circle back to 10.1. Councillor Pierce, is there anything that you want to share from council?
Nothing at this point, Madam Chair.
That was easy?
Yeah, it's all good.
Great. Okay, so then, moving on to section 11, other business. We have a few things here that we need to address. So we are required to provide an annual report to council as part of the new Community Safety Policing Act by the end of June of every year. Last year we weren't a board. This will be the first year that we've done it. Those of us that went to the Ontario Association of Police Service Board Conference, we received some direction on what should be in that annual report, what that should look like. It can evolve over time, but it also includes a really important component of the detachment commander's annual report, which then has been written and has had to go up to O.P.P to be reviewed and back down to the detachment level. So together with our report and the detachment commander's report, we are then required to submit that to council by June 30th of every year. So hopefully this year being the first year that all the detachment boards are doing this, there's a little bit of grace to be able to get into the process. I know talking to our colleagues, some of them are well in hand and some of them are much further behind than where we're at. So what we did then was we drafted an annual report here that's in your package. That also, I'm going to ask Acting Inspector McTaggart to just review quickly some of the highlights of his detachment annual report. But so the first few pages of text and content is from our board that's been drafted for your review and input. Cindy is going to work with with us. Cindy and I will work with the communications team to zhuzh it up and make it look a little bit more than just what it is now and cohesive, because we will also end up posting this on our section of the website, but we want to get this through your review and discussion today so that we can finalize that and submit that for council as well. So right now, any comments, any discussion on the draft that we've presented so far? Everything's good with what we have so far. Before we do anything to receive it or approve it, maybe I'll ask Acting Inspector McTaggart just to kind of review his part of the report as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll highlight some of the areas of the report that I feel speak to the great work here in Brant County. Last year, we did see a reduction in property crimes from 828 to 651, so that is an achievement in itself. The Offender Management Apprehension Program, O.P.P for short, and the Bail Compliance Program are two programs that we're currently utilizing to ensure high-level accountability for those on judicial releases for violent crime. In regards to roadways and waterways, our reduction in fatal motor vehicle collisions, we saw in 2024, we had 7 in 2023 and 4 in 2024, which that in itself is a significant impact when we're reducing the amount of fatal motor vehicle collisions we're seeing here in the county. And I contribute some of that to not only the initiatives that we see throughout the year, but also the collaboration with Brant Safe Streets, our traffic management unit, as well as the collision review committee. I sit on both Brant Safe Streets and our traffic collision review committee, and I can tell you that the progressive work and the attention to detail, looking at analytics to some of the trends we're seeing in the county, I feel is a true advantage to some of the numbers we're currently seeing. Regarding our community well-being progress updates, the formalization of our transfer of care protocol, which I spoke about with the hospital, that is currently ongoing. And then the increased engagement with our youth, the continued officer visits to our schools, our senior centers, and community events to deliver those safety presentations that are truly impactful for all the residents here in Brant. We continue to participate in events such as Red Dress Day. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the red dresses we put up in our detachment windows year after year, but we recognize that, as well as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And then our youth engagement through our kids program, cyber safety, bullying prevention, and then our youth academy, which I can't express the true results we're seeing from the youth academy that we're getting here currently with our organization through proactive recruitment, especially for our auxiliary program. Chair Haley, you mentioned that earlier, so we do have 2 candidates that are, one currently in the process and one nearing the end of the process, both that came out of the youth academy, so that's a huge success in my opinion. And then our continued partnership with SOAR to address our community mobile crisis response AMSR program that we currently have here to assist with our mental health calls for services is definitely impactful for that. So those are kind of the highlights that I saw. There's a bunch of stats and numbers in here. I won't go into those, but just as a quickly highlights from 2024, some of those good news stories, in my opinion, that lead us in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, so together with the preamble and then with the detachment commander's report, that would form the board's annual report to council. And if the board is ready to move forward on a motion to approve, we would then take the approved content, have some help from graphic design layout, make it into a package, and then submit that to council as part of our requirements. So if this is your last chance. Any edits or suggestions or changes or wording or anything like that that you want to make sure everybody's happy with? I want to make sure that reflects, all of us. So if that's the case, then I'd be happy to take a motion to approve the draft as presented. Member comment first?
Just a quick comment. I'd like to thank you and all those who are responsible for helping putting this report together. It definitely puts us in a very good light, listing the accomplishments and the direction that we're heading. So, thank you.
Thank you. And with that, you'll put a motion forward? Okay. And seconded by Member Boudreau, thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much, everybody. 11.2, oh, sorry, Councillor Pierce.
Madam Chair, yeah, my apologies, as I stated before, I need to leave, but I'd like to thank Superintendent Nash for coming to see us today, and apologize for, I'm going to miss what you're going to say later on, but thank you, and I look forward to the outcome of how everything is going to unfold. So my apologies, but unfortunately, I have to leave.
Okay, thank you.
See you later.
Okay, so then carrying on 11.2 in our package, just for reference, Spencer's included the previous version of the approved, what was then approved by the previous board, the communications memo that was drafted. Because legislation has changed and terminology's changed, OIPRD is now LECA, and all the things that need to be updated, we're presenting to you the updated version of the communication strategy that we can then reshare as the detachment board, and it outlines just kind of the triaging of how information can go, and so that way it's handy reference for members of council should any of their constituents contact them, they have it handy, and it's very similar wording to the 2023 version, other than, as I said, mentioning the new updated regulation names and information. So we are presenting this to you today for your review and your support as the detachment board, because we can't automatically assume that whatever was done as the police service board can then, so we're carrying it forward and bring it forward to you today. So I'll open that up for any discussion or questions. Seeing none, then I'll need a motion to then approve that report or that memo, the strategy, then we can then distribute it. Member Boudreau, thank you. Seconded by Member Stryker. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. So then last item on the agenda is 11.3. When we were at Superintendent Quenneville's reception party, congratulatory thing with the detachment and with the county and with the board, we talked, some of us talked a little bit about the idea of being able to present something more permanent for the detachment commander as a memento of their time within Brant. Cindy's looked at some options in terms of like they're like glass engraved awards, looked at some different price ranges. And so what we'd like to present to you is the idea of being able to do this on an ongoing basis for detachment commanders, that they can have a memento that would have the detachment logo and the county logo together, their name, the time that they were in the county, that type of thing on a nice thing that is more permanent, that can come from us. Cindy's looked at some different price ranges, so I don't know, Cindy, if you have that in front of you, but looking to get some direction on like a maximum so that we can go ahead and get that produced and presented to Superintendent Quenneville, if approved.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So if the board would like to do, as the chair described, one of those glass awards with the etching, we've been quoted the award plus setup as $110. There could be maybe potentially a little bit more than that. So I would think we'd be safe with up to $250 if the board would like to proceed with that.
Any discussion? Anybody prepared to move that forward then? Member Boudreau?
A comment slash question, I suppose. As somebody who has a couple of boxes at home of awards, for various boards and other work I've done over the last 40 years and change. They are appreciated, of course, but in the long term, they're something my kids I know are going to take to the dump on probably day one, which I would be absolutely fine with as well. So what I'm pondering in the sense of the sustainability of it, does it really have an impact? And it's going to be by individual, I get that. I may be unique in the sense of my gut reaction is really another piece of glass. It's a very personal reaction, I have to say. But would certainly like us to consider if we feel strongly about the impact that an inspector, especially at that level, has had on our community, that we would consider it an alternative. And this is literally off the top of my head, easily done because there's nothing else stopping it, is, Quenville Street, Quenville Crescent, the concept of naming a street or a community, something that's far more permanent to represent the impact that the individual has had on the community. I'd at least like the board to give it some discussion. It may not be completely impractical because of either bylaws or regulations the county has elsewhere, and it's certainly not up for this board to make those decisions. I would just like to give it consideration. I'm not against the appreciation. Matter of fact, I probably like to really show the appreciation in something that is more permanent. Those are my thoughts or comments. Thank you.
I'm not sure that we have any influence on those suggestions, but something that can be looked at, I guess, in terms of how that process looks like. But, and I know those are just spontaneous suggestions. I understand where you're coming from, and I think, maybe down the road, someone may struggle with what they're going to do with it, but it's I guess it's for right, I'm thinking right now, it's something that we can give to Superintendent Quenville. In this situation, it could be another detachment commander in another situation. They've moved on to another role. I've seen some of the desks, and I know that those awards are proudly displayed, and they have good, it's a good opportunity for us to be remembered and the time that they spent here. So while they're still serving and still active, it's nice to be able to have that. And I've seen some of the offices where you have some of your awards out there. I know they do mean something to you. And I know in the conversations that we had, it was just something meaningful that we can, as a board, present, because what else do we have that we can give to the departing detachment commander? And it's not for every officer, it's just for the detachment commander that we would interact with at this time. So something that we can think about, though, in other ways of recognition, perhaps, or the county can consider that as well. Those are some of the suggestions you had. I think are probably more county domain versus anything that we would have influence on. But any other thoughts or suggestions? Any direction on how we can proceed on that then? Member Stryker?
I'd be prepared to make a motion to spend $250 to do that.
Okay. Anybody prepared to second that? Member Brown? Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Cindy and I will figure out the logistics on that then, so that we have that ready to go. That takes care of all of items under other business. So now we did add 11.4, and this is more of a conversation, I guess, with respect to in-camera minutes, from how we might have done things as the previous police service board to how maybe things are now with the county, and procedurally. There was a question that was raised about in-camera minutes and whether or not the board should be reviewing them, and how are they reviewed and approved. And so in discussion with Spencer's checked with the clerk and how the county manages it versus how maybe we want to proceed. That's up to us to, I guess, to have some discussion with. So we thought we better put it on the agenda today so that we could be a little bit, have some direction. I'm going to put Spencer on the spot maybe, and just kind of, he can explain what the process has been, and then we can talk about what we'd like to see.
Through the chair to the board, To my understanding, the previous process of the Police Services Board is that they would receive the previous meetings in-camera minutes just as a password-protected document with the circulation of the next meeting agenda. I can certainly do that going forward. So at the time of circulation for the September meeting agenda, I can attach this meeting's in-camera minutes to the board just so that they would have it ahead of the meeting, if that is okay with the board.
So just to confirm, Spencer, that currently, right now, though, it's in-camera minutes previous to today would have been considered approved as part of the approval of the minutes?
Through the chair, that'd be correct. As it would stand with the adoption of the minutes in open session, it would be implied that the in-camera minutes would also be adopted at that time.
Member Stryker?
Would it be possible to review all those previous in-camera minutes?
I can certainly distribute those to the board.
So I think some of the concern is maybe that we're approving something we haven't seen. And it's implied that it's approved when we do the minutes. So this was just coming out of conversation and then clarification with Spencer. So this is why we wanted to put it on the agenda, is just what does the board want to do moving forward so that Spencer has the direction. So Member Brown, you wanted to add something?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think it's very important that we at least see them. Mistakes happen and things can be taken out of context. And if we're going to be held to those standards sometime in the future, we need to have at least seen them now to make sure that it was consistent with what was said.
So the proposed process moving forward would be that Spencer would include them in the board package, if there are any, because it's not every meeting that we have in-camera minutes. If there are any in-camera minutes, he would include it in the board package as the password protected. And then they could be included on a hard copy, in a different colored paper, whatever, just so they distinguish them being separate. If you want to turn them back in so that they can be shredded with Spencer, that is fine. They're usually pretty high level anyways, but that way that we've had a chance to review them as part of that approval of the minutes, and then that way we're all clear and we've all had a chance to review whatever it is we're approving. Does that make sense? Okay, we don't need a motion to approve. Okay, thank you. That's good for clarity, everybody. So now we do need a motion because we are going to be going in camera, so I will seek a motion to do that, please, and it's noted here as to the reasons why.
Just before, Madam Chair, we go in camera, I would also like to thank the O.P.P. for the help they gave me with the Lieutenant Governor. I saw you everywhere. No one else maybe saw you, but I saw your officers everywhere for the 2 days that she was in town. So thank you for that.
Okay, Spencer's going to read out the motion for us.
Through the chair, the motion to go in camera would be that the County of Brant O.P.P. Detachment Board convene in camera to discuss Section 44.2G, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the board by Canada, a province or territory, or a Crown agency of any of them, detachment commander vacancy.
So we'll need a motion then to go in camera, please. Mayor Bailey, and seconded by Member Boudreau. All those in favor? And that's carried. We'll just wait a minute here for technology to catch up.
Madam Chair, to Spencer, is there nothing that we need to ratify after that? No?
So just as we close here, we're back in open session. Cindy and I will work on the annual report and the award. The other thing I wanted to note is watch your emails because we are working with Acting Inspector McTaggart now that Special Olympics has wrapped up on platoon barbecues. So keep an eye out for that so that you're able to help out with those if possible. And other than that, we are off in August unless needed, but our next meeting is Tuesday, September 23rd, 9 a.m. here in council chambers. So have a great rest of the summer, safe summer, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day.